It's been over 400 days, over 15 televised defenses, and wins over the greats in the industry like John Cena, Brock Lesnar, and Edge. Roman Reigns has achieved a lot. Roman Reigns has done great work, and what was once a project for Vince McMahon and company is now very much so complete. And now you have a bona fide star at the helm of WWE with Roman Reigns. Since joining up with Paul Heyman, Roman Reigns has rebuilt his character, attracted an audience, and he's swayed many critics' opinions the other way. Along that ride, he's become the greatest Universal Champion in that title's lineage, plucking it from mediocrity and bringing legitimacy to what was once seen as the clear secondary title. So, where do we go from here? How do we keep this reign from getting stale? When should it end? Who should beat him? And how do you continue to elevate Roman Reigns? Let's map it out. The first discussion we need to have is, should he turn face? The short of it, in my opinion, is no. He should not turn full babyface. Reason being that WWE does not know how to make credible babyfaces. They strap them with the same stupid tropes over and over again, so it would negatively impact his character. But I think the discussion needs to be had. During a monstrous title reign like this one, where much of the same can often get stale, turning him wouldn't be the worst idea because people are already cheering him. Look, if you look at a fairly recent reign like CM Punk's 434 days, around the midway point of that reign he changed from face to heel, and it gave us a whole new dynamic to his character, freshened up stories, and it helped hit the reset button in a way. If you look at this for Roman, you've had him as a heel for over a year now, and the appreciation for his work and storytelling is garnering more and more appreciation every single week. The pops are deafening when he comes out. He's the one people are there to see. As much as he's being presented as a heel, he's more so a tweener than anything else. Early on, yes, he was a full-fledged heel when you were able to control the reaction in the Thunderdome, but now you're at a point where you can't control the crowd. The crowd is going to cheer him no matter what he does because he's proven his abilities. If you were to have Reigns turn face, it would give you a whole new layer of storytelling to his feuds. Plus, I doubt he's losing that title anytime soon, so you could turn him heel again in that same title reign. You could have heel Drew McIntyre. You could have the Bloodline turn on him and recruit their younger brother, telling another family-oriented story, or you could squeeze a little bit more out of Heyman having him turn on Reigns. Yes, Reigns does work better as a heel, but I definitely think it's something worth looking at right now because the end goal for heels in WWE is always to end up being the promotion's top babyface, much like The Rock and Stone Cold. What else we need to look at is who and when he should lose the Universal Championship. This has been a topic that's been debated a lot and will continue to cause controversy whenever he does eventually lose it. Like I said, you do not want this title reign to get stale. But in my opinion, Roman Reigns should not lose the title before his inevitable match with The Rock. If you were to have him drop the title, then regain it for the match against The Rock, it just wouldn't feel the same. The momentum wouldn't be there. That match needs to fall under the umbrella of this title reign, and there's no ifs, ands, and buts around it. Imagine saying you beat Cena, Lesnar, Edge, and The Rock in the same title reign. That's just god tier stuff right there. Since the report has come out that WWE is adamant that The Rock vs Reigns will not happen until WrestleMania 39 in Los Angeles, he should not lose that title until 2023 at the very least. But who? Who should beat him? I am very much so in the camp that Reigns cannot lose to someone who's already established or semi-established. Having a young star come in and use Reigns to translate the torch over to someone who will actually benefit off of it and carry the company forwards is money. You spent so long making Reigns work that you should have him pay it back to someone else. So let's look at the options. I mentioned someone young. That could very well be Bron Breakker from NXT. WWE in a small amount of time has shown with their mega push of Breakker that they expect big things out of him, and they expect him to be the face of the company in years to come. He's in his mid-20s, he has the look, the explosiveness, and he looks like someone who could beat Reigns in a legitimate fight. Imagine having the accolade of beating Reigns, Cena, Lesnar, Bryan, Edge. All those guys couldn't beat you, but out comes this rookie and he's able to beat you. That would be the making of a new star in the business right there. It's way too easy. Then you come to Montez Ford. Montez Ford possesses all the tools necessary to be a big game player in the WWE. He simply has an X factor to him where he could become a household name and a top face of the company if it's done correctly. He has the promo ability, he has the in-ring work, the exciting offense, and the marketability that WWE looks for. Imagine building up both Bianca and Montez as a power couple. There you go. You could have a guy like Pete Dunne come in and win, maybe even Ridge Holland, maybe even Karrion Kross. WWE has their fair share of young talent and also talent that is just on the cusp of taking that next step, and getting the rub off Reigns would be huge for all these guys. But what about the more established guys in the WWE who could beat Reigns? Well, where better to look than in 2012. November of that year is where The Shield made its debut, and next year in 2022 will mark the 10-year anniversary. We've had teases of Rollins versus Reigns a few times, and it seems strange that WWE drafted those two to separate brands. Although I personally don't believe Seth Rollins should be the one to beat him, I think the story they would tell would be phenomenal. They've had a 10+ year history, they want to prove who the best member of The Shield is, and what more poetic way to do it than at Survivor Series 2022. Drew McIntyre is another name that gets mentioned a ton, mainly because he's very much so the number 2 guy when it comes to top guys in the WWE. Reigns and McIntyre's chemistry is fantastic. That's a legitimate feud which delivers on all aspects. But even if you do that feud right, I feel like there's gonna be some backlash to it because you'd essentially be having Reigns hold the title for all this time only to lose it to a former WWE champion. Not exactly the best payoff, but you could do worse. But then again, if you don't have Drew McIntyre on SmackDown actually doing something, it would also diminish his character. It is a double-edged sword, but I think the absolute best route in terms of sheer storytelling is to go the family route. Either have the bloodline implode and let Jay be the one to capture the title, or if Jimmy and Jay can't do it, they bring in the third Uso who's currently signed to NXT. Joseph Fatu, or Solo Sikoa as he's going by, would be the perfect one to end Reigns' title reign. It would help WWE make a new star, and also much like they did at the end of 2020, they could tell the personal story of the bloodline, talk about the family lineage, the Samoans' history in wrestling. It would be perfect. Let's say that Reigns gets through The Rock. They tell the family story there, then they could continue that later on. You could also have Reigns disown the Usos, bring in Joseph Fatu, and those 4 go at it in 2-on-2 matches before Fatu eventually turns on Roman and wins the title. But that is some time down the line. Let's reel things back into current day. What is the plan now? Lesnar has been taken care of, where to now? Here, what I'll do is I'll map out a plan for you guys real quick. I'm gonna keep it somewhat simple and realistic too. What I think WWE failed at doing in the draft was feeding competitors to SmackDown for Reigns to feud with. Right now, it feels like it's McIntyre or bust on that show. They could have given us Styles, Lashley, or even kept Rollins on SmackDown, but we'll have to make do with what we have. Right now, it very much feels like they're building towards the final WWE pay-per-view of the year, that being Survivor Series. There, I could see it going one of 2 routes. Either Big E versus Roman in a champion versus champion match, or the Bloodline versus the New Day, hopefully in a War Games match. Either one I'm here for, but at the end, Reigns needs to win. From there isn't a WWE pay-per-view until New Year's, that being WWE Day 1. Honestly, they could have just called it New Year's Revolution. There I have Reigns facing Jeff Hardy. That would be a great little mini feud in the transition period between the end of December 2021 and the start of WrestleMania season. They have 2 matches, one at Day 1 and a rematch at Royal Rumble, but you guessed it, Reigns wins. Elimination Chamber is next, and here Reigns is the last one out of the pod, and in that match is Sheamus, Cesaro, Jeff Hardy, Ridge Holland, and Shinsuke Nakamura. Reigns beats all of them. From here, it's WrestleMania 38 season, and it goes one of 2 ways. Either they go McIntyre versus Reigns full on, or they do a triple threat between Lesnar, McIntyre, and Reigns. Don't even lie, that would be so much fun. Whichever route they choose to go, Roman comes out the winner. Then after WrestleMania 38, WWE does the Superstar Shakeup, and heading to SmackDown is Lashley, AJ Styles, and Seth Rollins. They do Styles vs Reigns from the pay-per-view after WrestleMania onwards, then they gear up for Lashley vs Reigns at SummerSlam, and eventually Rollins vs Reigns at Survivor Series. Survivor Series, Reigns beats Rollins in the Shield's 10-year anniversary. The Rock then returns to set up their match for WrestleMania 39 in LA. They tell a family-oriented story by using the Usos, Rikishi, and the Wild Samoans, but Reigns wins at WrestleMania 39. And at this point, you've had Reigns main event 3 straight WrestleManias, and he's come out on top each time. You've done enough for over 2.5 years, now he's good to drop it to an up-and-comer like Joseph Fatu at SummerSlam 2023. They continue with that family story up until SummerSlam 2023. Fatu wins. Roman Reigns goes away for a few months after carrying the company, returns to a monstrous pop, and we get face Roman Reigns. He's officially completed the transformation. He went from Shield Reigns to the guy people were booing in 2015 to the best heel in years to simply the face of the WWE. Boom. There's a quick rundown of how I would have things go. This would legit be the greatest title reign of all time. Reigns would have beaten Cena, Lesnar, Bryan, Rollins, Hardy, Styles, and The Rock in one title reign. But obviously, this is just me laying out a quick groundwork for how I would book the rest of the reign. Here what you've done is you've made him into the most dominant star in wrestling history, and at the end made a new star by having him drop the title to a rookie or someone on the cusp. I think it's safe to say that Roman Reigns is finally what he should have been, and now WWE under no circumstance, and I mean no circumstance, can let things end in a dud. There's a lot of different directions to go, but I'll ask you the question. Who do you think should be the one to defeat Roman Reigns and when? As always, thanks for watching, stay safe, take care.